Welcome to the Celtic Huddle Podcast. I'm Mark Wilson, and I'm joined today by a couple of Celtic legends, Murdo McLeod and Frank McAvenny. All right, guys, thanks for joining us again. Simon Donnelly has been dropped this week, something he's well used to on a regular basis with his time at Chef Wed.
Oh, he was
Resis.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'll like that one next week. All right, we're a brand new podcast every week, and we'll take you behind the scenes and in depth on all things Celtic. And I'm delighted to announce the podcast is now sponsored by First Star Gin Legends. So go to the First Star website and you'll see the gins for Frank McAvenny, Lubo Moravchik, Chris Sutton and Johan Mjalby. We've got Chris Sutton's here. Murdo, tried a few. Look at that, raspberry and lime gin. What do you think of that
wonderful,
one?
Absolutely
you tried that?
Wonderful. I tried them all at the beginning.
Aye. Do you remember any of them?
No, I don't. I'm not a big drinker. And then we were sent all the
samples
sent to the house and all that kind of thing, and unbelievable.
Aye.
Just sitting, sipping away, and then eventually everyone picked their own ones, and it was fantastic. The gin is really nice, really easy to drink.
Aye. One
It's a big problem for me.
Too easy to drink.
Too easy. Is it too easy for you?
See, I like yours. Yours is just the basic one, eh? Just the normal.
Just the original, proper original. No anti or this fancy. But to be fair, they're all nice. But definitely mine's the best.
Is that raspberry and lime? Is that Sutty's one?
Well, there you go.
It's part of your 5 a day, says.
Get yourself on the First Star website and have a look at it. Beautiful stuff. Obviously, guys, as well, we've got a big week, not just Celtic, but we'll chat about that result last week for Scotland and Serbia. Obviously, a few of our players involved in that. So today we have an absolute cracker for you. We have an exclusive interview coming up with Paddy McCourt. It's not to be missed. Spoke to him earlier on. Brilliant. He's in good form. He's ready to go. He's got a lot to talk about. Great player, but passionate.
Not many
passionate Celtic fan.
Players, modern day, player like Paddy.
No,
Do you know what
I know.
You're looking at the quality of the top class player just now, and then you look at Paddy, and Paddy's away up there with
unbelievable.
The best
I remember his first day in pre-season. It's been well documented. I was there and we seen him coming out with a big bushy hair, and we thought, this guy. The running started. We thought he's a guy that's won a competition here to join us for pre-season.
I was in London.
Then the day after, the ball came out. And we're going, oh my God, he's putting boys on their arses.
Yeah, brilliant.
It was sensational.
I was in London, you were playing a pre-season game in London, and I can't remember who it is. I was pretty pissed. And but I remember Paddy, he went by about 4 players. I was at Fulham or something, I can't remember.
Aye, it might have been. We played Fulham, aye.
It might have been Fulham. Oh, what a goal he scored. And it was just magnificent. Just the whole place.
What a player, what a character. So we've got him on later on, so not to be missed. Stay tuned for that. And we'll look ahead to start this crucial game away at Hibs, hard place to go, and we'll get the guys to choose your favourite Celtic teammate. Right, well, thanks very much for all the feedback we've had in the last couple of weeks, especially last week. So keep it coming, keep your bad feedback coming as well, and we'll ignore it as best we can.
Pass it on to Murdo.
Now, on to Saturday's game against Hibs, coming off the back of a 4-1 win at Motherwell. Murdo, is it just a case of coming off the back of this international break and picking up where the boys left off?
I think it's easier to talk about it than doing it, because the international break is, you've got 3 or 4 of the players away working hard for their country, and then coming back, and then they've not been training with the rest of the team. So it's not just a simple thing, get back on the pitch and just do the same things that you've done before and all that kind of thing. It will be difficult. It will be hard for them to get back into the routine.
Yeah, takes a bit of managing that, doesn't it? The players coming through all around the world, coming back into Lennoxtown, probably at different levels. Some have played, some would have sat on the bench, some would have been at Lennoxtown. It's hard to get a gauge on where everybody is.
To get a gauge. I mean, one person that for me was good in the international games was Edward. Scored a couple, so
of course
to see him scoring a couple, hopefully he's got his appetite back, and it'll be great to get him back, because any pitch doesn't matter.
But the rest of the boys as well, though, Frank, knowing that they're playing, and it wasn't just friendly games. Sometimes friendly games, they switch off, they can switch off at games, and then to get back to the way you should be playing at the tempo and all that kind of thing. But there's so much at stake for the Scottish boys going there.
Of course.
They had to. So, and then they've achieved what they were wanting to achieve. They celebrated after the game, fantastic for them all. And now you're going back to play in the Premier League. But then you've got to get the kind of
to get the mindset
strong
right. I mean, well, that
I think
thoughts.
I think boys are like that. It's been drummed into them. All they are is footballers now. They're no. When we played, it was different. I mean, we could go out and we've made our life. But I think nowadays the boys have just got football, sleep,
That's
play.
it.
I don't think they do.
Think you could have survived in this environment?
No.
Well, look, they're coming back off the
phones are retired. That's when they come out.
back off the international duty, and we'll touch on that later. But you could really pick a harder ground to go to for Celtic. You know, Hibs, decent team. Frank, Jack Ross done quite well, but
they've been
be
decent. I mean, to be fair, Lenny had been playing good football when he was there, and I just think Jack stepped it up. You know, he was different class when he was at St Mirren. You know, I remember him thinking, you know, he get high quality praise from Brendan. He says to him it was the best team that he played against. And then he went down south, didn't quite happen down south, but he's came back up, and it just shows you how good a coach he is, because he's got them playing absolute. I like the boy Nisbet. I like
Good
the boy.
player.
Yeah, I like him up front. So they've got players that can actually hurt Celtic. So
players with pace, goal scorers.
Yeah.
They've got the boy Gogic in there who can mix it.
There was a lot of players. Hamilton, I know Hamilton were desperate to sign him, and they were heartbroken when they never signed. So you know he could have. I thought he was going to go to England, but obviously people didn't take him serious enough. But he's a good player. Yeah,
it's a big game. Murdo, how's Neil then approach us? How will he be feeling? You know, coming off the back of, it was quite a turbulent 2-week spell he had there period.
Yeah.
And we got, you know, a couple of good results, and then to finish it off before one Motherwell. Do you think he would have just rather kept going, or do you think, you know, glad at a break and comes back, maybe refresh? How's he going to this one?
Sometimes you're looking at it, then you're happy with a break, but after the performance against Murdo, that was more the way Celtic's been playing all season. So scoring goals, and you're thinking to yourself, we want to just keep it going. But now half the squad's away to international games for their own countries and all that kind of thing. It's very difficult for them now. And Hibs, they'll be sitting. I don't know, many of them are away.
Well, they played just a couple of days ago, you know, where they beat, was it St Mirren at 4-1? Was that the one? Anyway, I could have got that wrong. But
Hibs are focused to beat Celtic. That's their target just now. And if they play well, they're a hard side to beat. So that's where Celtic, they've got to come back after all their international games, different type of training, and then come back in and then just lift it to a high level, because we've got to get to a high level.
Yeah, that's it. It needs to be
difficult.
It needs to be consistent. Now, one of the big stories, well, if you like a big story, in the Motherwell game was a couple of big decisions for Neil Lennon. He left out Shane Duffy and Edward. Well, two big players, you've got to say. Now, those two have been away in international duty with mixed fortunes. Do you think it'll be the same again? Do you think he goes down that road again?
I don't think Shane will come back in yet, because he's got 4 knocked by him again one of the games, didn't he? So, listen, the boy, I think he'll come back in the team, and when he comes back in the team, he'll be more prepared. I think he'll be fitter than what he has been. We keep forgetting that he hasn't played for a long time down south, so he came up here, he thought it was brilliant, scored a couple of goals, he thought there's nothing better than this. This is easy. Listen, a lot of players have done it for down south, you know, they've came up and can't do it, you know, the first couple of games, and they think it's so easy, but then they get a sharp reality check. So I think that's what's happened to Shane. He'll come back in. When he comes back in, he'll be more prepared for it. Yeah. And I think, but Edward just needs his games. I think that's what he needs. It's great to see him scoring in the international arena. I'm hoping that he comes back. I think he was trying too hard. The Motherwell, you know, different things. Even Aberdeen, he was trying to beat 3 and 4 players, and
well, he came on against Motherwell and he contributed to the game, which was the important thing, where he sets up in charm for the last goal. But scoring a couple of goals for your national team gives you confidence, gives you a lift. Me personally, I would expect him to come back in and lead on, especially on a big pitch, Easter Road, you know, loads of ground to run into.
You know, I think he'll come back in. For me, he doesn't. I understand he scores goals, and he scored a lot of goals in Switzerland, but for me, he doesn't hold the line. And I keep going on to people, whoever listens to me, saying there's more to a striker than just scoring goals. You know, you've got to do a lot harder work. You've got to do the dirty side. You know, like hold the line, take tackles, take free kicks for your teammates. You know, keep the hold of the ball till the teammates get to you, bring it up the park. And I don't think Ayeti does that. He's like more a poacher. Yeah. And he doesn't get involved. And I think Celtic as a team need someone that they can fire it into, that's going to hold it. Yeah. I mean, Rogic, put it into him, and he's magnificent. He doesn't lose the ball. And the boys, you see the boys doing it quicker when he's up behind the centre forward. But as a centre forward, you need to hold it, and they know Edward will. You know, and for me, that no disrespect to the other two boys, but for me, Edward and Griffiths is the first choices for me.
They're your main man. Yeah. I mean, as important as this game on Saturday is, Murdo, I mean, is everyone just as equally important up until we get to that January the 2nd against Rangers? Is everyone a must-win?
Well, that's what you're looking for. That's your target to win. It's not the end of the world, but if across the city's getting positive results, then you're putting yourself under more pressure, and that'll come back into February, March if you're 6-9 points behind and all that kind of thing. So you've just got to make sure good performances, goal scorers score goals and win games. End of story. It doesn't matter if it's a scrappy 1-0. You just take all 3 points. That's the most important thing.
That is the thing just now, because we played in it. We played in Celtic sides that were in a really competitive environment every single week, where you must win every game. And this Celtic team this year are right smack bang in the middle of it. You know, going to Easter Road is a must-win now. You can't afford to
you spoke about it last week, Mark. We were talking about it, and it's the first time, I think, that Celtic boys have had a challenge. They're that used to just passing it about and knowing, you know, it's like as if they're playing with no fear. If we drop points, we'll still win the league.
But Frank,
they can't do that now.
But the way Celtic in the past, they've always been, even if they weren't playing as well as they normally play, they've still got results. Yeah. Just now, it's been unbelievable to watch them. You know, losing games and being outplayed by European sides. Just what you were touching on about you know, the European games. Yeah, Celtic at Celtic Park would always lift. No one was coming to Celtic Park at one point and getting anything. Yeah, points wise. But Celtic now, they're losing at home, losing a lot of goals at home. That's never happened in the past. So I think that's so inconsistent.
He's addressed that, I think Lenny's addressed that now, with leaving Shane out. Not saying him, but you know, he's switching it about rather than playing three. He's playing back to four.
They're obviously,
I
think he's seen the problems defensively. He's changed Shane Duffy. He also changed the goalkeeper, and we've chatted about the goalkeeper situation a few times when Barkas left it. Bain's come in. I don't think Bain's done much wrong, but Frank, we're seeing Celtic linked with goalkeepers again in January. Dean Henderson at Manchester United, the latest one. Do you think they need a new keeper in January?
He's going to be a superstar, that boy. If we can get him,
you go for him, would you?
Yeah, he's going to be a superstar. Honestly, that boy, I've seen bits of him, and listen,
Man United, after spending $5 million,
Man United, and then he's getting about. I don't know what he's getting. He's getting about $100,000 a week. So you don't get out a goalkeeper if he's not any good. They know he's going to charge.
There's a few out there. It's on $100,000 a week.
I know.
That still throw the ball in the net. But do you think it's something that needs addressed?
I think so. Listen, I like the boy Bain, but he's no, for me, I wouldn't like him in all season. Yeah. You know, I thought you go and buy Barkley, spend $5 million, he's got to be decent. You know, again, it might be the same as Shane has come in. It's just the confidence. He might turn out to be different class. You know, he might turn out to be this great goalkeeper, and you know they'll sell him on because that's what Celtic do. Yeah. You know,
but what do you reckon, Murdo, then on that one? Do you reckon, even though there's two fit goalkeepers there just now, one at $5 million, one that's been there for what, two years, do you still think in January Neil will go in for another?
Just depending on the budget.
Yeah.
But I think he's at the stage, because if he got to the stage with Bain, it was time for a change. Bringing in a new goalkeeper. Then that's going to happen again, and that could be a problem for Celtic. That all of a sudden you've got the goalkeeper that you've dropped. You've paid $5 million for a top class goalkeeper, and he's not performed for you. Then you brought Bain back. Bain will still have the same kind of problems or mistakes he's made in the past, because he gives you a wee chance every now and again for the opposition. You know, makes a mistake. Even when he saved the penalty in Italy, he saved the penalty, and then the next minute he's palming the ball down and the chance. Do you know what I mean? So that can happen. We've got to get a goalkeeper that was as good as the one from last season.
Yeah, I don't know why. I didn't know why they didn't just go and say, look, instead of spending $5 million, go and get him, bring him up for Southampton, and you know, I just don't get that. And then again, we could have got the boy Marshall for nothing. I don't understand why
Frank,
we didn't get
Frank,
that.
How many times did he win games for Celtic? Never mind just making a great save. He won games.
He won games all the time for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cup finals and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
no, it was huge.
The cup final springs to mind against Rangers. We got absolutely battered, and he saved everything. We not bad squad, beat them 1-0.
Yeah, of course. Well, time will tell. You know, it's a big decision for the manager to make, bring in somebody else, but time will tell. But a big game on Saturday, nevertheless, and you know, we'll look forward to it, and hopefully the players can come out with a positive result. Now, I'm delighted to say what a guest we've got coming on. One of the most popular players to grace Celtic Park in the last 20 years. Fans paid to see this guy come to play.
Bobby Petter.
It's not Bobby Petter this week. It's the one and only Paddy McCourt. Paddy, how you doing? Thanks for joining us, mate.
All good, bud. Thanks for having me on.
Hi, Paddy.
Good. How's life?
Aye, listen, we're just doing what everybody else is doing. I think just keeping the head down and getting on with it, and you know, hoping that we get back to some kind of normality over the next coming months. You know, there seems to be good signs, you know, coming from the medical point of view in terms of a vaccine and stuff. So, you know, hoping to enjoy Christmas, and then come the start of 2021, that, you know, we'd hope to try and get some supporters back in the stadiums and try and get back to some kind of normal life.
You're not bothered about lockdown, though. You're sitting in that big house overlooking the bay. You still there?
Still here, but no,
see,
listen.
You're not bothered about being locked in.
I think it's more from a sporting point of view, and you know, for younger players, they've missed a lot this year in terms of their development and all that. And it's more so for them that I would feel sorry on. And you know, a lot of our academy teams this year have potentially only played 6-7 matches, so it's a worry in my opinion, for younger players. They try and get them back playing as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, that leads us on. I mean, you're at Derry City just now. You're the club's technical director. I mean, what a post that is. How is that role? How's that all come? How's that came about? And you know, how is it day to day life? What does that entail? Are you enjoying it?
Well, look at when I retired there a couple of years ago, I was going on to Derry City as academy director, which was looking after the academy. The new manager's changed, and the new manager came on back on the vine. And at the time, the club were going through a sort of restructure in terms of their first team playing staff, and he was getting rid of a lot of players, and he needed to bring a lot in a short space of time. So it sort of came about. He asked me would I give him a hand doing it, and we sort of worked together for a few months. Get a lot of players in, got a lot of players out, and then the owner of the club, you know, asked me would I consider doing this on a more regular basis. So my role now sort of consists of, you know, being a support for the first team manager and looking after transfers in and out of the club, and also looking after contract renewals, contracts, you know, renegotiations and stuff like that. So look, it's a role that I'm learning all the time. It's a role that I'm picking up a lot of experience, and you know, as much as this year's been difficult for everyone, you know, I have enjoyed it, and I've continued to, you know, pick up new things along the way.
You've just done your pro licence, that's right, isn't it? You've just completed it. Is that something, I mean, coaching on the field, are you looking to, you know, keep your hand in at that, or are you going to kind of move away from that and be just the, you know, the director role? Do you want to get back in the grass and coach?
No, I've always continued to coach from the grass as well. That's not something that I've stopped doing. I would regularly take sessions with our academy teams, and last year I took our under 13 team myself, just for my own development in terms of getting my coaching hours in. So I've just passed the pro license last week after you know, a few years at that. So no, it's definitely something that, you know, I wouldn't rule out in the future. At the minute, I'm enjoying the role I'm doing, but you know, I suppose they upskill and whatever, you know, skill set that may be, whether it be, you know, background stuff within a football club, or as you say, being on the grass. You know, if you're comfortable doing either, then, you know, hopefully that'll open up, you know, more avenues down the line.
Paddy, it's Murdo here. See, when you're out you're looking at new players, is it your say, or do you go to the manager and say the manager's choice of players that you want to bring into the club?
The manager 100% picks every single player that comes to the club. My thing is, I suppose, where I get involved is if he's looking for a right back, I go and try and draw up a list of 5 or 6 options that we can afford, Murdo. He'll then do his own bit of digging into them, and we'll try and get character references on them from people we know within the game. But when it comes down to the final one, he'll pick which one he wants, and I suppose it's my job then to make sure that he does it sort of within the budget that the chairman allows him to spend.
Have you found any Paddy McCourts in your travels?
Look, we've plenty of talent coming through the academy at the minute. We actually had 3 over at Celtic in February before lockdown kicked in March. So then they've done really well. They're probably going to go back once it's out. But we're scouring everywhere really around the area to try and find the best talent. And thankfully we've moved it a long way in the last couple of years, and hopefully over the next few years that if some are good enough to go to England, then great. But if not, we hope they have a few that will certainly be good enough to play in our first team.
Good. Now, you mentioned Celtic here, and on to Celtic. Now, I know you'll be keeping an eye on it. I know how much a fan you are. What do you make of the season so far, Paddy, and how things have went?
Listen, like all fans, I suppose there's been disappointing games, disappointing performances, and for me personally, I read a lot online and Twitter and all. There is an anxiousness, there's a nervousness of from the supporters of everyone's so desperate they have a successful season and get the 10 in a row, that sometimes that can spill on the near anger, and it's sort of you can see the disappointment after games, and especially after the Rangers game was a very disappointing performance and result, and then a couple of really disappointing ones in Europe, and you can see then that there's people maybe calling for manager's head, but me personally, I always feel you should support the team and support the manager and support the players until the people above make a decision. Well, the manager's time's up or whatever, and that's not for fans to decide. Of course, you can have your opinion, but I would like to see everybody just come together and keep supporting the manager and keep supporting the players as long as they're in that job, because it is such an important season, and not having 60,000 people in the stadium's hard enough. But I don't really like when the fans start really turning on the manager and turning on the players at times. And I do think that's because there's just such desperation they won this 10 in a row.
No, you're right. I mean, talking about the players, I mean, we played with some great players in our time when we were there, but the current crop just now, who do you think are the key players in the team? And equally, who do you think are the ones that maybe, underperforming a wee bit, if you want to put it that way, who can be doing me? Well, listen, we all
don't answer that one, Paddy.
No, but in terms of the key players, pros and cons, what do you think?
The key players for me in any team will always be your centre forwards, your attacking players, so to speak. Now, Edouard, the answer, it's probably the answer for the same question. Edouard, for me, is Celtic's key player, and Edouard, for me, probably hasn't performed up to the level that I would expect him to, because, in my opinion, he's one of the best players to have played in the league since I've sort of not been in it the last 7-8 years.
I'm saying that you were the best player in it.
No, I mean, since you're not really involved in it as a player, you're watching as a supporter, and I genuinely believe that if Celtic can get him back to, firing on all cylinders, then he could be the difference. Now, Elyounoussi seems to have stepped up to the plate since, Edouard sort of found himself in the team. Granted, he had a bit of an issue with COVID and missed a few weeks, but, encouraging signs last night. He scored 2 again for France under-21s and equalled their under-21 goal-scoring record in much less games. So, I do feel that of them two in particular, and, Scott Brown's still a key player. I know Benny's probably trying to balance now in terms of what he can get out of him and how many games he can get out of him, but I still think when he's in the team, his leadership qualities and his will to win and his drive, they push the team on, is still so important, especially in a season like this one is. Yeah. And then the last player I touch on would be, Lee Griffiths. I think Lee Griffiths, if he could get,
Yeah.
himself really, really back flying fit and sharp and get his head in in a good place where he's really giving the manager something to think about every Saturday or Sunday, then, the more attacking players that we have that are really firing, I think that we can really, really push on.
Well, I was going to say there, I mean, the guys you mentioned, Edward, El Yunusi, Lee Griffiths, match winners, probably Lee Griffiths comes under the category of Mavericks, but do you think there's enough of them in the team? Guys like that, or do you think that kind of side of the game, that you had is falling out a wee bit?
It's definitely falling out a bit. It's not as popular, and myself being involved in youth football, you don't even see it as much there. So, at first team level, it's definitely dribblers or creative players. I suppose they're still creative players, but it's just a different way. It's more build up play now, and maybe a slide roll pass, or you might step past one man and slip someone in. But the days of maybe someone getting a ball and drifting by 3 or 4 players, it's just not seen as often anymore.
That's a shame, though, isn't it, Paddy? I mean, because when you played, people, as Mark said, people paid to come and see you, but you got people off their seats, and that's what you want in football. You want somebody to go by 2 and 3 players, And as a player, when I was up front, I loved to see that happening. It was incredible to see players like that. So I think it's wrong for the game.
I remember, Paddy, your first goal. Was it your first goal for Celtic against Falkirk? I remember playing in that game where he gets the ball, and it was a pretty ordinary night, but he gets the ball away to Falkirk on a cold night. He runs past about 4 or 5 players, chips the goalkeeper, and I'm sure you were in the team. Did you not score one similar after that as well, the week after, something like that? But fans pay to see that. Fans love to see that.
But Paddy said it himself, though, and even the young kids coming through now, they're not dribbling by defenders anymore. The young kids are being taught from an early age, get the ball, one touch, passing, and then just move into a space, get the ball back.
I think they're fearful. You were never fearful, Paddy, were you, when you got the ball to feet? You would always square somebody up, wouldn't you?
I'll be honest, I don't think fearful's the right word, and the reason I don't is I always, and I've spoke about this in loads of interviews, I put it down to the fact that they're not playing in the street anymore as much.
Yeah.
Everything's too structured now. They're in a coaching environment since they're 7, 8, 9 years of age. I never done a coaching session. I was 15, and even then I wasn't listening.
You're in good company here.
That's insane. Everything is now done for them. They're told what they should do. Yeah. They're told how they should do it. They're told, don't do that, don't do this. You have to just let them go and learn themselves. And as I say, when you were out in the street and you had a ball and you were much better than the boy you were playing against, you just to take it round them all day and dribble past them, and then, no one ever told you that was wrong or you had to pass a ball. Eventually they did when you had a certain age.
Yeah.
But I think telling kids that they're doing things wrong at 8, 9, 10 years of age, it's not the right thing to do. They should find it out for themselves. And if they're still doing it at 14, 15, 16, of course pull them aside and say, look, all right, you can dribble, all right, you can shoot, all right, you can pass. But sometimes you have to look for the other option. Don't always do the same thing all the time. But I think getting a balance from what age you start telling them to do that, making sure it's not too early for sure, because if you have someone who's shown that he's a great dribbler, just let him keep dribbling and dribbling and dribbling. Eventually it'll work.
I think though at first team level now, though as well, it's more structured that way. Managers are want to play a certain way. Every one of their players have to fill a role, but I've got to say, under Neil Lennon, I always remember him saying, Paddy, especially at the forward-thinking players like yourself and whoever, Maloney or whoever else was in his team, once you get in the final third, he used to always use that saying, carte blanche, just go and do what you want. And I think he still uses it. I mean, what was it like playing under Neil? Did you quite enjoy that kind of environment where he just says, go and do what you like in the final third?
He used to tell you to do that until you done it wrong, and then he used to hammer you.
Aye, quite right. I remember that.
It was all right. It was all right. Then here, just you go and do what you want, and then you do a mistake, and all of a sudden he's down your throat.
As managers for you, Paddy, isn't it?
I'm only messing. No, I have to say, he was very much like that. Where if you were in the final third and you seemed that you were trying the right thing at least, and he'd give you a bad ball. Now, just from the outside looking in, I spoke to Lenny a couple of months back for the first time in a few years, actually, just regarding Shane. And, you know, from the outside looking in, he seems a much more relaxed manager. He seems more experienced. When he was our manager, well, as you know, it was his first job. He was so desperate to do well, and you know, he could let his temper get the better of him at times. And I think, fortunately for him, that, you know, we'd all knew him beforehand, so we would sort of, regardless of how bad he was there, or how big of a bollock he gave us on a Saturday, we were pretty good at letting it slide and going out the next week and still giving everything for him. So I suppose now when I watch him, and even in his interviews, he's always backing the players. He's always sticking up for the players, and he seems to take a lot more on his back now. Where I think just experience of, you know, being at different clubs and being back at Celtic and realising that, you know, not only as a manager under immense pressure to perform, the players are as well, and everybody's in it together. So I think he's really matured as a manager, and, you know, I just really hope for him now that the players can get back firing on all cylinders and really push on now and deliver the 10th title in a row.
Paddy, that never done you any harm, did it? Getting shouted, somebody shouts at you and tells you you're wrong and that, and go off your head. It didn't do you any harm as a player, did it, or a person? You just take it on board and go out and do better the next time, you know. But the players nowadays can't handle that. That's what, you know. That's what annoys me, because they've just been wrapped up in this bubble that you're not allowed to shout at them now. And I think sometimes, I'm a great believer in sometimes you need a kick up the backside, and sometimes you need an arm around you.
Big time. I always, you know, especially at half time in a game, I always try to use it as motivation, where I sort of, like, I'll stick two fingers up to you here and I'll go and show you type of thing. You know, I suppose if it happened after a game, you might have dwelled on it for a bit, because you've no time to go out and prove them wrong to the next training session or the next, you know, match. So, but I always loved one at half time, because, let's be honest, as a player, and you're sitting there at half time and you're getting a bollock, and you know you're not getting it for nothing. And you know, I needed it at times. I needed one where, you know, you were told in no uncertain terms that that's not going to be accepted, and you're not only letting me down, you're letting the team down. And I think when they always threw that one at you, that you're letting your team down, that's when, you know,
Or what about the one worse, Paddy? Remember at Falkirk, that game you scored that goal? Remember we got a bollocking after it when we won 4-0 for not being good enough? Remember that? That was under Tony Mowbray, 1-4-0, bollocking after it. Frank saying that it wasn't good.
but there's the difference, Paddy. You'll watch it so often now. You'll see players making a bad pass to someone, and there's no reaction from that player. Instead of having a go back at the player who was making the bad pass and saying to him, look, no one talks to each other. They don't have a go at each other in the football pitch anymore. And surely that would make them better players.
I don't know where that came from, because it happens all over the place now. It's in England, Scotland. It must have been a switch that you just don't shout at people. You know, and my teammates wouldn't have let me away with that, Paddy, if I kept losing the ball.
Definitely. Listen, that you know, Mark shared a dressing room with me, and I think Charlie McGree and I said it. There was no one that was a bigger moaner than me. Now, sometimes it was, you know, sometimes it was warranted, sometimes it was just me being a moaner. But like, I'm still involved in the first team environment. As I say, I don't be at every training session, but I be at a lot. I mean, after games and, you know, bad results, bad performances, and no one says, you know, it's very little. Everything's left to the manager or the assistant manager. Like, I've seen many dressing rooms where boys are going at each other and they're having to get pulled off each other. And then come to Monday morning, the whole dressing room's laughing and joking about it. I think the fear now from the modern day player is that if someone has a shout at someone, and they take it personal and they feel it's a personal attack, when, you know, it couldn't be anything further from that. All it is someone trying to drive their teammate on, or, you know, trying to get a reaction out of them. And, you know, sadly, it is something that's really, really come out of the game. And what's more noticeable at the minute is when there's no fans in and you're hearing, you know, every shout. And, well, I suppose you're not hearing every shout.
But that's the thing. Do you think this Celtic team are missing the fans, Paddy? I mean, we've been there. We know how important it is when you were playing, you know, awful and you needed that wee kick up the backside. The fans often told you, and before half time, to change, you know, what you were doing. Do you think this team's missing them?
I think they are, but I think it'd be very unfair. They say that, you know, only Celtic's missing the fans. There's no fans in any ground, you know. And I think in the European games they've really missed them, and that's the truth. many nights when we were playing against teams that, were much more talented, were a lot more money and probably getting paid a lot more money. You went out there and the team seemed to get that extra love from the fans, and you only have to look at the players in the past that have commented about the atmosphere and how it's sort of taken them aback a bit, players that have played in every stadium in the world. So, but on the flip side of that, if you look at last week against Motherwell at Fair Park, you go there and beat them 4-1 with no fans. It's not an easy place to go when there's 5 or 6, 7,000 Motherwell fans. So, of course you're missing that sort of 60,000 at home games when, things are going well and they're pushing you on. But at the same time, sometimes when things aren't going so well and there's the odd stray pass and you're hearing the odd groan or moan, and especially as I touched on earlier with the anxiousness and the nervousness of what this season already brings, they are missing them when things are going well, but it's not necessarily going to hinder them in the SPL, in my opinion.
And just to finish off, Paddy, I mean, what do you think this season? Realistic, will the club still win 10 in a row? Will it follow up with other trophies? Will it win the Scottish Cup also to be a quadruple treble? What do you reckon?
I think they won the Scottish Cup. I think they're, the players they've won that many trophies now. It's just they turn up and it's not even a big thing for them anymore. It's just another game and they'll go and win. I think that's a huge advantage. 10 in a row, I think we'll win it. I think it's key that we get through the next 3-4 months and make sure we don't lose any ground and try and pull back a bit of ground, because I think if we can get around that February, March time and there's only 1 or 2 points in it, then I think Celtic experience and the players we have there who've won so many titles will take over. I think it's going to be key, as I touched on earlier, about getting your attacking players firing. I still believe that this squad's more than good enough to go on and win this league this year.
Brilliant. Good man, Paddy. Well, listen, thanks very much for joining us, mate. And hopefully the rest of the season at Derry goes well. Wish you all the best. Hopefully speak to you soon.
Cheers, Paddy.
All the best, Paddy.
All right, thanks, lads.
Guys, how good was that? Paddy McCourt, some good insights into the game. We wish him all the best going forward with Derry City, and a true Celtic hero. Now, on to the big week that's went past. Wouldn't be right without mentioning Scotland. We're actually going to a major finals. I mean, we all played for Scotland. Some is more than others. I think I got 35 minutes. You've got a wee bit more than that. I mean, you have both been to major finals. Murdo, how good was the penalty shootout victory? How good a feeling was that?
Fantastic. No, you're sitting watching it, watching the game. I was saying to someone that we've been in lockdown for 9 months. And the last 20 minutes of the game was longer than the 9 months. Honestly,
you're right. Yeah,
it was horrendous watching it. For some reason, we started fantastically well for an hour and 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden we were backs to the wall. We were struggling, but then you're thinking we can hang on here. We lose the goal, then you're thinking that's Scotland. And then what's going to happen? It'll go to penalties and we'll lose in penalties. It doesn't happen for Scotland in the past. And now you're sitting watching there, and we've already had 5 in a row in the Israel game to get through. And then you're going down to the last penalty kick, and the goalkeeper is just wonderful.
It was incredible. Incredible scenes, for any young fans.
When they looked at the referee to make
sure it was brilliant telly. You couldn't write that. But I mean, going to a tournament, some of these young fans have never experienced that. I can only watch it.
I know.
Mark, I was thinking, see when he's going to the referee.
That's how far we've got.
But
wrong with the game.
You're getting to the stage instead of being able to celebrate, because normally a goalkeeper just takes a run and runs away to the corner flag, and everyone else has got to catch up.
But nothing worse though, if Marsh is away running to the corner and they pull him back. The big man doesn't like running.
Could have been embarrassing because the whole team ran towards him. See if he said not take it again.
I know. But look, you see the feeling and the jubilation where the players got a major tournament. You guys have been there, Frank. You were there in the 86 World Cup in Mexico. I mean, what was it like being there? How much of an honour is it knowing you're representing your country on that stage?
It was magnificent going there, and we went to Mexico, and there was an earthquake, so we didn't think, a year previous that it wasn't going to be there. They were going to have to change it, but the Mexicans done brilliant, and got it built up, and it was superb for me just to be. I just made my debut coming in. They brought me in for the playoffs, and to score and make one and score one was just brilliant for me. You know, it's
Just in at the right time.
It sealed me. You know, I just sweeped in at the right time, and
so when they've got there, if it wasn't for you,
didn't do anything stupid. You know, before the World Cup, so I stayed in.
That's our first, by the way.
It was good. I know.
Quarantine.
It really was good. It was brilliant going over there and just being with somebody. I mean, I was fortunate to make my debut with Kenny Dalglish. He was my idol, you know.
Wow.
So to make my debut with him, and you know, Murdo tell you get players like Souness in the middle, and Paul McStay was there, and Millen McLeish, and it was just Hansen. They were on the squad. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time to be there. The wonderful David Cooper. God, what a player!
It must have been great though. It's experiencing the atmosphere about the full place. I mean, Murdo, you were there, 1990 World Cup. I mean, that's the first one I can remember, and just watching it as a kid, it looked unbelievable.
So special.
Being part of it, brilliant.
You're so proud. No, everything you were doing, Frank, wasn't it? Going to training, even just sitting down together, just some of the names, and you're looking at these players. Fantastic to be part of the squad and to be involved in playing for your country. And that I've always said when I was a younger player that the thing I want to be able to do is say I played for my country.
Yeah.
And that's when I got my first cap. It was just fantastic stepping on the Hampden pitch against England and all that kind of thing. So it was great. But to go to the World Cup finals, and for the boys modern day who had no idea, no clue that they were going to get to a tournament, because you were looking, because we were all talking about how does this thing work? Who have we got to beat to get into the Euros and all that?
Quite complicated.
But if you win the section here, then you get into another section and you do this. And no one knew how it was going to.
But that's what it says. They're making up tournaments so that the teams like us can get there.
I know.
So.
But who cares?
Was this just for us? This one?
Well,
it's for us and teams like us.
Yeah, one guy that knew it was Steve Clark, how to get us there. He understood the system. Murdo, is he an ex-teammate of yours, Frank? Is he a Scotland legend forever?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah,
because
that important now.
All the kids, all the football fans, all over Scotland, in fact, all the Scots all around the world, Stevie Clark's the man who took the team to the Euros.
I thought we Gordon Strachan was so disrespectful to him when he came out and says he's a lucky manager. He's a lot more than that, Gordon. You know?
No, he knows his stuff, Steve
He's
Clark.
a lot more than that.
By the way, you watch his team.
You know what I mean?
Remember watching him right at the start, and it was kind of hard going.
Yeah.
But
the first thing he done is
it's not a magic wand.
It's
not a magic wand. The team gradually get better, and some of the players they brought in, they played really well for their country. Debuts played really well for their country, and everyone they play as a team.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere within them, Mark, as you know,
brilliant.
You need to have a team spirit.
It's like a throwback to when we
got
played. If somebody runs by, you fall in and help them, and I'm thinking, wow, you don't see that in club level now.
Yeah.
It looks a real team effort. So, I mean, on the players, a couple of, ex-Celts and current Celts. David Marshall was the hero, of course. You had Cal McGregor again, outstanding. But Ryan Christie, I mean, scores a goal, outstanding. Adds on a bit to his transfer budget, does he?
Big price on it, I know. But when was the last time we seen Ryan and McGregor play well together in the midfield? You know, the two of them were magnificent for Scotland. So they were good against Aberdeen because Ryan was out wide, and the two of them have got a bit of space to operate because the two of them are very clever, technical players. Yeah. And it's just, it worked well, didn't it? It really worked well.
Do you think that'll feed back into them coming back on a high, back for Scotland, knowing what they've achieved? You know, you said earlier on, Murdo come back with that competitive edge going into Saturday's game. So, no, delighted for the boys.
The boys will give him a bit of stick, Ryan, when he comes in with a greeting.
For greeting? Oh, no, that was brilliant.
I know, but you know,
TV, though.
You walk in that dressing room, you have the toys, you ought to...
He's trying to get an advert of it like Gaza, isn't he?
I know.
He'll be trying to get a crisp bar. You see Ryan Christie with the packet of Monster Munch.
Or the Texas will be in with the VIs.
Oh, no, that was brilliant. But what a great week.
It summed up the country, didn't it? Really?
It does. But anyway, we'll leave that there and we can look forward to a big tournament in the summer and look forward to the Celtic players being involved.
We'll be going to Wembley.
Of course, we'll get down there. Exactly. Listen, on to our last topic, our favourite teammates. It could be for any reason. Favourite teammates to play with, for what rate, or favourite teammates for fun, or a good night out with, a good wingman. But, I mean, I was thinking of this earlier for me, and it's hard. I mean, in terms of jokers and things like that, favourite teammates, guys like who we just had on the phone earlier. Paddy was a brilliant he was my roommate, but brilliant to have.
Who made
terms
the
of
beds?
crank phone none of the two were that scruffy, but crank phone calls and stuff like that. Paddy was your man. Charlie Mulgrew and that and things. But I was thinking about, in terms of work rate and stuff, I couldn't beat playing with Sean Maloney.
Is that right?
Sean Maloney was an absolute machine of a player. In the gym every day. In the summer, went to sprint coach. You'll know Sean well. Went to sprint coaches and stuff to make himself better. And then when he played in front of you, you know, I've quite often played left back and he played left mid. Made my Old Firm debut when he was playing left mid, and he worked hard. Played against Ronaldo at Celtic Park, and he was playing right mid, and me and Sean had to double up and see him just gain work rate. But then when you gave him the ball, he could make things happen. He never moaned, never done anything. He was incredible. What about you guys? Could be for any reason.
I think the first time I was at Celtic they were all Big Roy, you know, the work rate dragged people through. But for me, the guy that I always thought was world class was Paul McStay. I thought he just epitomised everything about Celtic. You know, he loved the jersey, and you know, and he had somebody beside him who I know a lot of people think we had a go at him last week. We were having a laugh about him. Peter Grant. He was magnificent beside him. You know, he was Paul's foil, you know.
Yeah.
But hopefully I got to tell you something. Talking about playing against Ronaldo's and things like that. We played against Rangers. It was Mark Walters, you know, he'd done that wee step over. But they worked on it all week. Chris Morris, Peter Grant, right, I'll come and help you, Peter saying. So when he does that, you go that way and I'll go that way. Well, you know what's going to happen. You go to the ball, he ran out and Peter's went to double up. He's done that step over, the two of them have banged heads.
Banged into each other.
Two fell Oh, he never lived that one down. Brilliant. It's quality.
Brilliant. So you're Paul McStay. What
Paul
about you?
McStay was for me.
Murdo.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a lot of good boys round about. You know, you had you touched on Big Roy. Big Roy was there, and Paul came into the team. I think he made his debut at Pittodrie, and I think we went up there that day. But Paul was a great player. But talking about teammates, with Roy, Davy Probin was great. McGrain was great. McGrain.
Danny's some lad.
Sense of humour he's got, and you
He's
don't realise.
Take the
People don't
mickey.
realise that, do they?
I remember he was talking about Tommy Burns once, and going on about Tommy and you know, what he was like as a player, and Tommy Burns, and I'm not putting on the voice, but going on about Tommy, and he says, and I was playing left back, and Tommy was in front of me, and he was so lazy. He was never chasing any of the players. He says, and I'm against two players. He says, I know I'm good. I'm not that good and all that. But Danny was great. Honestly, he was so funny, Danny. But we had a great team. You know, I said earlier on about a team. If you get a team, it's special for you because it doesn't matter who's first in the dressing room, second in, you all have a chat with each other. It's no somebody hides in the corner.
We spoke about it before. We had a team that played, and they didn't have to get the manager to change things. If it wasn't working, we change it.
Change it
we had
yourself.
We had that many captains, leaders on the pitch that you know. I just see Scott Brown, whereas we had.
Scott Brown as well. I didn't even mention him. My teammates, he was magnificent.
We had everyone that could just change it, you know, and just Mick McCarthy and. You know, with some good players.
You need guys. You need guys like that in your team, don't you? I mean, some good names in there, guys, and it'd be all right to have some of them in the team when you're going through a bad spell. But look, we hope there's no more bad spells to come for us. You know, it's starting on Saturday, a big game Saturday against Hibs, and here's hoping we get 3 points. But that's us, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for joining us, and thanks to our new sponsors, the First Star Legends Gin. Get on the website, try it out. 4 to try. Everyone equally as good. And thanks very much for joining us on the Celtic Huddle Podcast. We'll be back next week.